Hey guys, Sean T. Phillips here. Welcome to my April 1st DVD update. When I talk about other DVDs and Blu-rays I've gotten over the last 2 weeks or so. Like I say, guys, you enjoy these update videos, definitely give this video a thumbs up. Leave me comments below what you guys thought of some of the titles I checked out this update. Any titles come up that you guys would like me to review for future updates. Now, the first one I got from Shout Factory Scream Factory line. This is a lesser-known John Carpenter movie that I always really liked this movie. I always remember watching the original films too as a kid. Like right when before I was allowed to watch R-rated films and stuff like that when I was like 5, 6, 7 years old. I've always loved horror movies and used to like to watch like as many as I could when I was a kid. So I used to watch a lot of the Universal Monsters movies and a lot of classic black and white films and things like Bad Seed, which that one is still to this day one of my favorite movies. But this is one of those ones, I used to remember watching the original ones, and then when this one came out, I used to watch this one. And I always really liked it. It was a movie, starring Christopher Reeves and Kirstie, and I believe it's like one of her few horror movies. I really can't think of her in any other horror film. She might have been in some other stuff, but I'm not sure. And this is John Carpenter's Village of the Damned with really great new artwork on this one. Really love the artwork on this. But this is a really pretty cool movie. It's basically, though, the plot of this movie, though, in this small town, all of a sudden one day, something happens and everyone in this town passes out. They all pass out at the exact same time. People like the one guy falls asleep on the grill and dies, and like the one guy drives into a gas tank, and like the whole thing has become a huge nightmare in this town. No one exactly knows what happened, but then all of a sudden, right afterwards, a little bit later, everyone in the town wakes up at the exact same time, and they come to find out that a number of the women in the town have become pregnant. The government finds out this whole thing is not sure what has happened. They say that because of the circumstances, they can understand if they don't have the children, but if they do, they're going to pay them this money, and they're going to kind of study the children to see if there's anything wrong with them, to see exactly why they're all born at the exact same time, because they were all, conceived at the exact same time when everyone is passed out in the town. So they're all kind of concerned about what is this about with them. Of course, though, the kids grow up and get, when they're, a couple years later, they all start to be very strange. They have this kind of thing where they can kind of control people's minds, and if you kind of cross them, they make the person like put their hands in boiling water, and all these crazy things that they do, and the kids kind of become secluded with each other and only are hanging out with the other kids who were born this time. And he gave this movie a really cool look too. He made it still have that 50s vibe by giving the kids, they all have the same colored hair, and it's like they, it was white hair, and they're all wearing this like kind of drab, like 50s style clothing. I don't know, it's a very cool, creepy movie about trying to figure out what's going on. Kirstie Alley's character is kind of there with them, studying the kids, trying to figure out exactly what's with these kids and why they are the way they are. But it has on here, though, a great documentary, though. It takes a village, looking at the making of the movie, and they talk to a number of the kids now, John Carpenter, about the making of Experience. And I totally forgot, too, one of the kids was played by Thomas Dekker. It has on here, too, Horror's Hallowed Grounds, with Sean Clark going to look at the locations now, seeing what they're like. And then some, behind-the-scenes footage as well, in vintage interviews. But I always really, really liked this movie a lot. It was a really cool, like I said, lesser-known John Carpenter movie. The next one from Scream Factory as well is a Chloë Sevigny film with Timothy Hutton. Timothy Hutton plays the one girl's father. He plays it, great. Plays a little over top, but I love the way he played in this movie. But the movie's called #Horror. The movie's got a lot of mixed, opinions and things like that. I, on the other hand, really thought this was a pretty cool movie. The movie's basically, though, in the very, very beginning of the movie, you see Chloë Sevigny talking to her husband, and he's cheating on, her with this younger woman, and you see them both getting killed. You kind of know in the very beginning that these two have been killed. You don't exactly know who's behind it, who's done it, but the basic plot, though, is about Chloë Sevigny's daughter and her friends all come together for this party. They're all 12 years old. They're kind of coming for the sleepover, and they're Chloë Sevigny kind of leaves them there because she's in the middle of trying to put together this art opening with these kind of weird art in her house. And she kind of reminds me of Lydia Dietz's mother in Beetlejuice, with these kind of over-the-top crazy art and stuff like that she's making. And the kids are all playing this game on their phone, which is this hashtag game. It's kind of looked like Fruit Ninja a little bit, where they're constantly putting up weird pictures, and you see images too flashing up on the screen of those two that died in the beginning. But the kids are basically there, and the game that they play is basically to pick on each other as much as they can. They earn points doing it. It's a kind of creepy idea too, because it's also kind of you could imagine kids getting together now because of phones the way they are. The kid probably would be just messing around with their phones the whole time, but they're picking on each other the whole time, and it gets really out of hand because the one girl, ends up picking on the one really bad, and they make her leave. They say, get out of the house, we want you to leave. Of course, the girl just kind of wanders out into the house, into the woods. They kind of yell at her to get out. The father comes back and figures out that she's gone, starts screaming at them, and then weird things start to happen at the house. You see like someone or something is like broadcasting them, filming them from the phone. It says viewers are watching. You don't exactly know what's happening, but you know, though, it's not good. And it's, I don't know, I really like this. It also has really cool music. A lot of music I really like. If you listen to like Sirius XMU, like a lot of the indie kind of music, it has like music from Purity Ring and a lot of that kind of stuff that I really like, the synth pop kind of stuff. I don't know, I really thought this was a pretty cool concept, and I thought that it actually worked pretty good. Like I said, though, it's not going to be for everybody. Now the next one from Scream Factory as well is the Hallow. It has on here too the original artwork underneath of this one, but the movie's basically, though, about this couple that ends up moving to a small town in Ireland, you know, a couple from England, and they move there, and they hear this town about this legend, about something that lives out in the woods, that about fairies, and about this creature that wants babies, and they hear about all this kind of, like, the folklore of the town, but they really don't think much of it. But then all of a sudden, they're starting to notice something is kind of lurking around and trying to get the baby. It's like sneaking around in the house, and then the one point when the husband goes out into the woods with the car, like this kind of creature is attacking the car and like screaming, and like you hear all these kind of weird stuff going on. It's essentially, though, them trying to figure out about this creature and what ends up happening with the baby and trying to stop whatever it is out into the woods. It's a pretty creepy kind of like in the woods kind of movie about that takes place all during the one night, about what they're going through out there with this creature, and you know, is there some truth to it, you know, what this legend says, and exactly how they stop whatever this thing is that's out there. But it has on here, though, the making of the film, storyboards, and a sketchbook on here, and creature concepts, but a pretty cool creature feature in the woods film. The next one from Lionsgate, and this one stars Oscar Isaac. This movie's called Mojave, and this is a pretty cool kind of reminded me a little bit of a Brian De Palma type film. Like I said, it's Mojave. Kind of like some of his movies, a little bit body double-ish, some of it with the music. I really loved the music in this movie a lot. It was really cool. It was a subtle score, but like there were some really nice pieces in this movie. The movie's basically, though, about the one character who ends up, you never really come to find out exactly too much about his character, though. He's like, I think he's like a director or an actor or something, but he ends up kind of having this sort of breakdown. He leaves his girlfriend and he kind of puts a note that says, I'm going to the desert. He drives his van out there, this like kind of RV kind of van thing, and flips it. It's not really an RV, it's kind of like a weird truck thing, Jeep kind of truck, and he ends up flipping out there. He drives like really fast, flips the van out there, and gets himself kind of stranded out in the Mojave Desert. And at night when he's out there kind of screwing around, he ends up seeing, you know, Oscar Isaac's character holding this gun, and he kind of sees him lurking around, and he ends up getting the gun away from Oscar Isaac and kind of taking it to himself. And Oscar Isaac's character is like nuts, and he's going, well, brother, it appears we've met, brother. I have to tell you, brother, that just because you think that you know everything about your life, brother, doesn't mean you know where you're going, brother. Like, he says brother, Oscar Isaac's character says brother, more than I think, like, you know, we always say, like, the drinking game. Like, if you had the drinking game of how many times Oscar Isaac's character says brother, it would not end well. And he's, like, out there as this kind of squatter out in the desert. You know that he has bad plans, and he's nuts. He's got this really long hair, he's got this gun, like, and he's got these scratches in the gun. But basically, though, you know, the main guy is played by Garrett Hedlund, basically, you know, who's this actor or director that kind of goes out there to get away from all this, you know, ends up getting away from Oscar Isaac's character, taking his gun, and he's like really scared of him. He knocks him out and kind of runs off because he knows that Oscar Isaac's character probably wants to kill him. He looks creepy, something's up to no good about the guy, so he ends up wandering away, getting away from him, and then you see him kind of lurking after him, kind of following him. Something goes horribly wrong out there, and there's an accident. He gets away, but Oscar Isaac's character finds out where the guy lives and kind of follows him to Hollywood. But it's a really cool, weird movie, and the director even says on the interviews, like, everyone in Hollywood is kind of in Hollywood, but they don't really know what they're doing there. They don't seem to have their lives together whatsoever. They're all a big mess. Mark Wahlberg is in this movie too. It's because it also is on the basis too of them trying to put together this movie, and that's one of the reasons why the guy ran out to the desert, because things are not going very well. But I really thought this was a cool movie, and Oscar Isaac was great in here. are always saying brother to him. But I think this is really worth checking out. Like I said, it's got that real, like, Brian De Palma kind of vibe to it. Next thing I got is a pretty cool, I just wanted to show this one. It's a Vincent Price bobblehead that I got. It's a limited of 1,500 hand-numbered figures, and this is a Rue Morgue Rippers, of bobblehead of Vincent Price. We'll take a little look at that inside of it. But it's, I'll put a link to it if you guys are interested in picking it up. I just want to get it out of here without messing it up too much. But it's a cool thing of him dancing with a skull, it's a skeleton. So it's a pretty cool bobblehead, like I said, a Vincent Price with a skeleton, and it's a limited to 1,500, copies of it, 1,500 of the items. Here's a look at the box of it. Like I said, too, it's a numbered edition on here on the bottom. But I'll put a link if you guys are interested in picking this thing up. It's a very cool Vincent Price bobblehead. You don't see bobbleheads of, like, characters in movies too often, especially, like, horror ones, except for, like, some of the really, really known, kind of like Freddy Krueger and things like that. But a very cool one of him, like I said, with a skeleton. The next one, this is another movie that had some mixed opinions. I saw this in theaters as well, and thought this was actually a pretty cool movie. And it's based on a real place in Japan, and it's, where people actually go out to the woods in there and commit suicide or attempt to, or maybe their plan is to. And it's, like I said, it's a real place. This movie's called The Forest. It's basically about this one girl whose sister they kind of believe that she went out there. She's kind of had some depression and stuff like that, went off to Japan, and they think she's out there. So the sister is very concerned because the sister is, her twin sister has gone missing. She does, thinks the worst of maybe she did try and kill herself out there, but she says she's got this feeling that she's okay. She kind of has this kind of bond with her sister, and she can kind of feel that she's still alive. So she ends up going out there to try and find her sister, and she ends up meeting this guy who is, there's some other American who's out there, and he goes and, says that he can get a tour guide out there to kind of help them go out into these woods to try and find the sister. And then they basically, though, the tour guide is like, I don't want to be out in these woods at night. At nights, there's kind of weird stuff is said to happen out here. Of course, though, she's like, listen, we found, because they get there and they find this tent. She's convinced that it's her sister's tent, that her sister's out there. She says she will not leave. She's like, I'm staying out here. So the guy ends up staying out there with her at night. Of course, staying out there at night, creepy things start to happen, and it's kind of like, what is real and stuff. I thought this was a very creepy movie, and like I said, the movie really relies on the setting, and the setting really was cool, and I thought that was, I think some of it might have actually been filmed out there, but I think a lot of it was like in Bulgaria or something like that. But it has on here, though, a making of, storyboards, and a commentary track with the director. But I actually, like I said, I really think this is worth checking out. The next one, and I have a full review of this one up as well. I'll put a link if you guys have not seen it yet. But this is, Star Wars The Force Awakens. I did a full unboxing review of this one, but I really like this movie a lot. I definitely am interested too. Like, on Tuesday, I'm going to do a video showing, all the different editions and stuff like that have come out of that. Like the steelbooks and all that stuff, and we'll talk about the features and stuff like that. But, of course, like I said, if you have not seen the review, I'll put the link below for that. The next one from Sony, I'm really happy that there's finally a physical release of this, because it's, it was released exclusively to Netflix at first, but now it has a full release, and it has on here deleted scenes, and alternate endings on that. And this is the Blumhouse produced film, starring Mark Duplass, called Creep, and this I thought was one of probably the most interesting found footage movies I've seen in a long time. The thing that's pretty cool about it too was I'm pretty sure the movie was made for pretty much absolutely no money whatsoever, and that's what kind of made it really cool. Was I really don't think, besides maybe like renting the location, I don't feel like there was really any budget at all you really needed. And that's what kind of made this movie even cooler. It's about this guy who gets, this ad in Craigslist about, put in by Mark Duplass's character, about that he basically wants to hire a guy for $1,000 to film him because he's very sick and believes he's going to die. And he wants to have footage to show to his unborn child so his child can see what he's like and stuff like that. Of course, the guy goes out there and starts filming Mark Duplass's character. And Mark Duplass's character is very strange. He's doing really odd things, and there's just something really off about him. And it's kind of about him going out there and filming him, and then what the result is of going out there and filming him, and the stalkerish kind of vibe, and you don't really know what he's saying, if it's true or if it's all fabricated, and he's like making it up as he goes along, because like the things just are not making sense. And he seems like too he's trying to creep the other guy out. I believe they're going to be doing like 2 more parts of this series. I really hope they end up doing them. Like I said, really glad that there's a physical release of this one, and I really would say this is one of the best in the recent time found footage ones. It just works because it just has this very creepy aspect to it. The next one from Sony as well is Stealing Cars. This has on here Mike Epps, Felicity Huffman, William H. Macy, John Leguizamo. It's about this kid who basically goes, and in the beginning of the movie you see him stealing this car, and he ends up getting put into this juvenile hall, kind of juvenile hall place, almost like a boys' camp kind of things for like offenders and bad kids. And it's kind of sent out there to try and shape his life up and get him back together. And it's kind of him out there, and it kind of flashes back at a couple points in the movie to his life and kind of the wrong things that he did, and him out there trying to survive in this kind of prison place. There's one guy there too who's really very mean to the kids and very abusive and stuff like that, and he's like treating the kids terribly wrong. John Leguizamo is like one of the kind of the heads of this group, but it's kind of the kid out there trying to get his life together. Same time, he's always trying to escape from the place and leave. And then he befriends Mike Epps' character, who's the cop, and he's kind of letting him come back and stuff. But it's pretty much like a prison kind of movie about like this kid just sort of trying to get his life together. I thought it was actually a pretty good movie. Mike Epps was really good in this movie. Same with John Leguizamo. The kid was also very good as well. But if you like kind of like prison kind of kids and juvie kind of movies, I would definitely say check this out. The next one, this was an interesting one. It's called The Identicals. And at the beginning of the movie, you see this guy with his girlfriend and these kind of like SWAT team kind of characters, and they're breaking into the house, and it goes like this huge scuffle and all these kind of things going wrong. And he ends up seeing, his girlfriend get taken away, but then he ends up seeing that one of the people that is in the scuffle and the CIA mask and the mask and stuff like that breaks into his house, underneath of it is his girlfriend. So it's this weird thing that he doesn't have any clue what has happened and why is that his girlfriend was taken away, but then this person that he ended up killing in the shuffle, or ended up dying in the shuffle, looks exactly like his girlfriend. And he comes to find out that there's this group that's basically kind of that finds people that are absolutely full-fledged identical clones. So trying to find someone that looks exactly like me somewhere else in the world, and they basically go and like take that person, you kind of replace them, like wipe them out and kill them, and you take over their lives. But he ends up kind of finding out about this, and he ends up wanting to, when he finds out about it, they're saying, listen, your girlfriend is gone now, but we can give you a better life. So he's, agrees to all of this, be transferred to a new life and take over the life of some other person. But he's there, and he actually ends up seeing his girlfriend, but he's trying to talk to his girlfriend, and it's kind of the rules is he cannot talk to her again. So it's this whole big thing about him trying to talk to her and them talking, and then people coming after them and being a huge nightmare of a situation because of they're still speaking when they're not supposed to. It kind of has like the feel of like The Island a little bit, but it has on here, discussion with the writer and director and a visual effects breakdown. But like, it's pretty cool, like futuristic kind of film. The next one, it's from E1, and it's Ava's Possession. This is a totally different take on possession movies. And it was basically, though, kind of a comedy possession movie a little bit. It basically deals with, in movies when it's kind of talking about possessions, this one talks about what happens after the possession. And about, like, the reactions of the family and, like, what happens. Like, you see the girl waking up after this possession. You see, like, one guy who's, like, got an eye patch on. People all scratched up. Things are broken in the house. And, like, she's got all these people who were once her friend are afraid of her and don't want to speak to her anymore, don't want her around. So she's kind of trying to pick her life back together, and she goes to like this kind of support group for people who have been possessed and exorcised, and it's like a possession group of people who have all gone through this. And you have to kind of like, at the same time, she's starting to kind of see weird images again and weird things again. She's kind of worried, is like what happened to her before going to happen again, because he has no remembering of what happened. But in this possession group, they put like this collar on them, and they have to like fight off their possession again. If they can do that, they're truly cured of their demon. It's like I said, it's a different kind of take on here on like the whole kind of take on like possession movies. I thought it was actually pretty interesting. Has on here though behind the scenes featurette, a music video outtakes and sound design featurette. And the next one, this is one of my favorite ones in this update. A very, very strange movie from SRS Cinema. This is called Goretica. And it's a shot-on-video movie, which I had never heard of before. Very much in the style of necromantic kind of movie, but like a super low-budget necromantic kind of film. And I like to, like I said, it's like, since it's shot on video, it's got like VCR tracking and things like that in the movie at some points. And it kind of gives it this real cool vibe. But it's basically about this woman who's like obsessed with the dead, and she's like sleeping with a skeleton head. And in the beginning of the movie, you see these two robbers. They ripped off these diamonds. And the one guy's like, oh, we should get rid of this hot merchandise. So the guy swallows the diamond when, right after they stole it. Of course, he swallows the diamond. This police officer comes and ends up shooting him. The guy ends up dying. So the guy has to drag his friend around. He ends up taking him in his car to this grave site because he's kind of sitting there not knowing what to do with himself. And of course, the girl who's obsessed with the dead and sleeping with the dead ends up seeing them out in this car. So she goes up and says, what's going on? She sees the friend is dead. She's like, oh, bring him back to the house with me. You can stay with me, because she wants to sleep with the dead body. But it's essentially about her coming back to the house, bringing that guy back to the house, and, sleeping with him, and she's doing all these weird things to him, shaving his head, and putting mohawks on him. It's really strange. Really cool, weird music in this as well. And then the guy is trying to broker the deal with the diamond, trying to sell it off and stuff like that. It was, I don't know, I thought this was great. This is a really strange one, and if you like necromantic and those kind of movies, but if you want to see like a super low-budget necromantic kind of movie, but it was like and you like shot on videos, because you know how I am with shot on videos. I love shot on video movies. This is one that I had never seen before, so I was like really excited to discover this one. I would say highly recommend checking this one out. They also have a really limited VHS release of this one as well. But anyway though, guys, that's all for this DVD Blu-ray update video. Thanks again for watching and subscribing, and I'll see you guys later.